Good morning and welcome to the Vision Alignment Show, where we all understand the importance of having our core beliefs, our core values and strengths aligned with our vision. Somebody that knows a lot about having that core belief, that core strength aligned with their vision is our guest today. I'm very excited about having her on. She has gone through so much and has lived to tell a great story, a great experience that she's had. I don't know if it's a great experience, but that experience has allowed her to share a lot of learning lessons with so much of this community, that the healthcare community. So without any further ado, I want to bring on our guest today, and that is none other than Miss Carrie Hill. Good morning, Carrie. How are you this morning?
Hi, good morning. I'm doing well. I hope you are.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on today. This is great.
With that introduction, I feel like I should come down an aisle at a game show.
Yes.
Exactly.
Oh, we're excited.
Exactly.
It's all good. So, Carrie, we're going to have a chance to get to know you a little bit better, but can you first tell us your first recollection of knowing your vision?
Sure. So I've been dealing with my health stuff since 2000 and went through a massive scare in 2009. And then it peered its ugly head again in 2018. And I went through some serious anxiety and PTSD that I didn't even know I had. Like I was shocked. I thought I was over it. Everything's good. We're just going to keep living life. And then I was diagnosed with my second brain aneurysm, and that put me down. All the spirit and the happy and everything was just frozen in time. And I was trying really hard to find something that could help me, that could get me over that somehow. Like I wouldn't even drive my car. I was so worried that I was gonna cause an accident because it was gonna rupture, and then I was gonna hurt somebody else, and it was bad. So I started to reach out to some social media support groups. I started to reach out to some local brain injury support groups. And I just said, you know what? Let me share my story, see if that helps other people, give them the knowledge that I have, and, let's see what happens. And fortunately, I was able to do that online with some people. And it was very comforting to me to be able to share that knowledge and help these people through things that they weren't understanding, or things they might be experiencing for the first time, or things that their family members were experiencing and they didn't know how to approach their family member or their doctors or what kind of treatment plans. And by no means am I a medical professional under circumstance, but I am able to share my story, and it does help other people. So that helped to ease some of that anxiety. And then I just kind of said, you know what, let me present my story. Let me present my story and see how that goes. And it went really well. So I presented my story to brain injury groups 3 different times. I have multiple people who reach out from online about the situations that they're in. And, I'm kind of upset that it took me over 10 years to be comfortable enough to share my story, because it could have helped so many more people. if I could out of my own way. But that's when I decided, you know what, this is a part of my big purpose. This is a reason why I'm still here.
Awesome. I love that. And I'm looking forward to learning more about your story. And if you want to hear more, stay right there. Carrie, thank you so much for that. That's amazing. So, if you would, let us know a little bit more about your story.
Sure. So, I was 28 years old and I was living my best life. I had a wonderful job. I had an 8-year-old son. I think he was 9, actually. My apologies. Baseball games, PTA meetings, just everything was great. I had the white picket fence. I had the husband. I had everything going for me. And I started to have some really bad head pain and some what they call TIAs, which is trans ischemic attacks. They're kind of like a mini stroke, but they're in the category of a headache. They don't hinge on the brain like a stroke would. So I was having some of those and I was having some pain and I went to different doctors. They told me it was just migraines because I had a history of migraines. Keep on trucking and gave me medications or, the migraine cocktail, the injection. I went to a few ERs when it would get really, really bad and they would do the same thing. They would just dose me home. So finally that all started, March in Harley Stop. That all started in March of 2009. By September, things were pretty bad. There were days that I couldn't hold down water. There were days that I was in and out. I'd be awake and then I'd go to sleep, but I didn't realize I was going. There were many days that I don't remember how I got to and from work, even though I drove. So they did a CT on September 1st, and it showed that everything was fine during that CT. So then in November, I went to see a different neurologist. I had been going to a neurologist at a university hospital here local, and it just wasn't getting it done. So I went to a different neurologist at a different university hospital. And he said, here's your 3 month for your migraines. Let me know what you're eating, how much you're sleeping. Don't do any caffeine. Don't do any red wine. All of those things, your typical meeting with a neurologist. And 3 days later at 2:00 in the morning, and I said, look, I left a message. I can't do this. Something is wrong. Something's really, really wrong. I don't know what it is, and I don't know who to turn to. Because at that point, I had already been to the different ERs multiple times. I had been to a cardiologist. I had been to my PCP multiple times. This was my second neurologist. It just felt like nobody was taking it. And, at this point, I'm in pain every single day on a scale of 1 to 10. Some days it's like a 6 and other days it's like a 15. And I can't function anymore. I was missing out on, my son's stuff. I was missing out on, friends and family things. And it just wasn't me. It was affecting everything about me. Neurologist got me into his office, I think 2 days after I left that message. And he said, I want to check you for MS. So I want to do a scan of your neck and let's just go ahead and do an MRI of your brain because nobody's done that yet. So that was fine. That was the Saturday after Thanksgiving, 2009. December 4th, he and I finally got on the phone because we played phone tag for 5 days. And he told me it was 4:30 in the afternoon. And he told me that I had a sizable aneurysm behind my left eye. And they thought that was what was causing it. So the next day, I went in for an MRA and pushed my way into the doctor's office. I did not have an appointment that day. So after the MRA scan, I went over to my doctor's office. They were very close together. And I said, could you tell me what the scan says? And they said, we don't have that. We don't have those results. Okay, well, I'm going to go get breakfast and then I'm going to come back. And, I'd really like to know what they say. It's Friday. I'd like to know before the weekend. So I went back and they said, oh, we sent the results yet. So I went back across where I got my scan, got a CD-ROM of my scan, and took it back to the doctor's office and handed it to the lady. And I said, when can he read it? They said he can see you at 1:30. So I left, did some errands, came back at 1:30, and it was very Grey's Anatomy-ish. Like I walked through the threshold and the lady stood up right away and she was like, heating for you. Okay, that doesn't sound real good. So we go back to the last office on the left. I'll never forget it. The last office on the left, and I'm sitting in the chair, and he comes in and he goes, yeah, it's a large aneurysm behind your left eye, and I've got a brain surgeon coming in to talk to you. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I knew it was something serious, but okay. So a brain surgeon comes in to talk to me, not my brain surgeon, but another brain surgeon in the same practice. And he explains to me that they're going to clip, which means they're going to cut my head open from like here all the way to here, pull everything down, open up my brain, and go in there with some tools and clip them at the neck so that it no longer has a blood supply and it can't get any larger. Okay, when are we going to do that? Now, this is Friday. He's like, I'm not sure. Your surgeon's going to call you that afternoon. He says, we can wait till after Christmas. No, we can't. You just told me I have a time bomb in my brain and it's already giving me issues. So no, we can't wait. So I said, no, I'd like to have it done, a lot sooner than that. And he said, well, I'll have to talk to scheduling, see what we can do and have them call you. And I said, okay. And he didn't was in a rush to have this done. He's like, it's not going to do anything statistically. They don't typically, and you're young and you're healthy. Oh, you're young and you're healthy. That was a big, big saying this whole time. So he's still pushing back. And I said, okay, look, let me put it to you this way. My insurance pays 90-10 right now. Come the first of the year, it's going to be 80-20 when we get this done. Yeah, we can get it done. I'll have scheduling call you. So scheduling calls. He said, we might be able to get you in Monday. Monday's my son's 10th birthday. Monday. 2 days with my family. That's it. Or we can get you in on the 14th, 10 days later. Okay, look, I'll take the first available. I'll do what I have to do. So we hung up. She was going to let me know if I could get in there because they had another case before me. That's what we're called. We're called cases. We're not called names. We're not people, we're cases. So they call me that it's going to be, the 14th, which is fine. I get everything together, go to work, tell them all of my secrets about how I do my job and what needs to be done while I'm gone. And they were very understanding and grateful. I had a good company that I was working with because they were, the benefits and things like that really made a difference while I was out sick. So the 14th comes around and they do an angiogram, which is where they go up through your carotid artery, through your groin, and then go all the way up with a camera and some dye. They look, and my neurosurgeon came out to talk to me first time I met him after that was done. And he said, you have an aneurysm like this, and then you have one on top of it. It's like a snowman. Okay, it's like a snowman, which means this thing grew and it's a weak point in your vessel. So the weak point grew, and when it should have ruptured, another weaker point on top of it. So I am extremely lucky that my genetics allowed that to happen that way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. So the next morning we went into surgery, first thing in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning. Ugh. We went into surgery. It took 6.5 hours. They were able to clip it, but they did find some dried blood on my brain, which meant that it had been leaking, which would explain the symptoms that I was having and why some days I was in more pain than other days. But it's allowed for my body to clot those leaks on its own instead of just allowing my brain to rupture and bleed, or my aneurysm to rupture and bleed out. So after that surgery, I wasn't feeling real good at all. I wasn't really talking all that much, wasn't eating. I didn't want to move around. I was in a lot of pain, more pain than before. So, I explained that to my doctors. I explained that to my caregivers. They assumed that I had a brain fluid leak, which is a typical complication for the surgery that I. So they went in and did a spinal tap 3 different times to fix the leak. They basically mix your blood with a coagulant and insert it into your spine, and it's to fix that leak. The next day, less than 72 hours after open brain surgery, they told me I was going to go home. I don't want to go home. Something's wrong. I'm still in pain. Things are not the way they were supposed to be. I'm not comfortable. Well, Miss Hill, have you ever heard of anxiety? Yeah, I have. And that's not what this is. Something is wrong. My gut is telling me something is wrong. Something is seriously wrong. They didn't listen. They ended up discharging. They sedated me. I was in a wheelchair with a pillow like this and my head like this because I couldn't sit up. By the time my husband got me back to the house, I couldn't get out of the car. I couldn't walk up the stairs. My mother-in-law at the time even looked at him and said, "She's gray. Are you sure she's okay?" "Yeah, she's fine." They said she could come home. So he hunches me over his back, takes me upstairs. I don't brush my teeth. I don't change my clothes. I don't shower. I just lay right in bed, and I stayed there pretty much for 22 hours. I didn't eat. He got excited because I drank one of those nasty Inshores. Don't do that to yourself. Just don't do that to yourself. So I had 100. A friend of mine who happened to be a Duke Life Flight nurse came down to watch me while my husband ran to the drugstore to get a suppository because that's what the residents were telling him that I needed. I needed a suppository, although I hadn't eaten anything in 3.5 days. Okay. That's why I have 102 fever. That's why I'm in pain. Not because I just had a massive brain surgery. So he goes to get the suppository, and my friend lifts me up out of the bed and makes me walk. So I walked a short distance. I came back, and all I was get back in the bed. So I went back to my bed. And when she picked me up again, I started to projectile vomit, and my eyes went like this. And she looked at my husband and she said, "She has to go back to the hospital now. I don't care if it's ambulance or you take her. It has to happen right now." So as soon as they told me I could go back to the hospital, for whatever reason, I grabbed my own pillow. I put my jacket on. I walked the stairs. I told my son I loved him and to be a good boy, and I'd be back as soon as I could. I kissed him on the cheek. I walked to the car. I got in the car and I laid down in the back seat. But when we got to the hospital, I didn't know my name. So we get to the hospital. My friend's husband is an ER nurse. So he happened to be on staff that day. So she had called ahead. So it was like my own personal, which I am so grateful and blessed to have had, because come to find out, when they did the scan of my brain, when I got back to the ER, my brain had shifted about 8.5 millimeters per line. And once you get to 10, you're pretty much done. I had blood, air, and fluid all on my brain. My aneurysm had ruptured. I was in the last 45 minutes of. At that point, I didn't know what was going on. My brain is literally pushed to the side. So I have no idea what's going on. Apparently, I was laughing a lot. And I kept, according to my husband, asking him who he was and telling him not to cry. Don't cry. Why are you crying? They rushed me back to surgery. They opened my head again. They relieved the pressure. They closed me back up and put me in ICU. I wake up in ICU and I can't talk. I can't communicate. I can hear the questions that the doctors are in. I know that the answers are in there somewhere, but I can't find them. I know I'm supposed to know them, but I can't find them. And I didn't realize something was wrong until asked me, did I have a child? And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure I have one of those. And I shook my head yes. And they asked me what my child's name was. I had no idea. And I knew I was supposed to know. So at that point, I started to cry. And my family and the doctors were like, "Oh, no, don't cry. Don't cry." That was the first time that they had seen
Lost you. That was the first time that they had seen. We lost you, Carrie. Oh, I hope you can come back. I hope you can come back. Carrie, this is a great story. Oh no. You're stuck. Well, Carrie, I can't tell you how disappointed I am. You're such an amazing person. And we got stuck there at that point where you began to cry, and the doctor said they don't do that. So you've bounced off. So hopefully you can come back. Hopefully you can dial back in. But for all the listeners out there, if you want, please go to this YouTube channel. So you can go there and hear more about Carrie's story, see more about what's going on. I will. Let's see. How can I do this? I can make it public or make it post about it in the show notes. So you also can look at it right here with youtube.com/channel/UC. That's a lie. I'll never be able to read that, but hopefully you can read it, and hopefully you can go there and learn a little bit more about Carrie and all that she has to offer. Wow. Oh my gosh. I mean, she's phenomenal. So I see some people here that have joined. Good morning, Wes. Good to see you this morning. And our friend Linda. Good morning, Linda. It's good to see you as well. But if there's if there's anyone else on, please put in a hashtag live. Let us know where you're coming in from. That would be great. If you're listening on replay, put in a hashtag replay. That would be phenomenal. So I'm just so bummed not to get to hear the rest of Carrie's story. So I'm going to stick on here for a few minutes, and hopefully she'll be able to come back on. But I mean, it's just phenomenal to be able to be with her, hear her story. And there's also Rhonda. Good morning, Rhonda. Good to see you this morning. I'm glad you're on. So Carrie Hill has a incredible story, and I'm just so thankful to have her on with all that she's going through and how she can help people and help them to be better caregivers for themselves and to be a representative for themselves. I mean, incredible what she went through back in 2018 and continues to go through. And just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Oh, and there's our friend Amber. Good morning, Amber. It's good to see you this morning. Thank you very much for being on. So I haven't seen Carrie pop back into the green room. Once I do, I will definitely bring her back on. We'll hang out here for another few minutes, and hopefully she can rejoin us. So, having said that, we have a lot going on here personally. I'm speaking. I'm going out and speaking on Wednesday of this week. So I'm going to be leaving tomorrow morning to Wichita, Kansas. So I'm speaking to a group out there that supports those with intellectual and developmental disabilities. This group is called InnerHab, and look for me to be posting a lot about it on Facebook and LinkedIn and maybe even Instagram. When we get to that point, but there's a lot of good things that are happening with this group. They're wanting to award and lift up the direct support professionals, and the direct support professionals are the boots on the ground, people that are doing all the hard work to make sure that those with intellectual and developmental disabilities, IDD, they'll be short. I'll shorten it, IDD. It's easier to say. So this group of direct support professionals, DSPs, they are the ones that do the hard work that helps the person with IDD to be able to live a successful and happy life. So I'm just so grateful to be able to spend time with them there on Wednesday and get to walk them from a point of blindness to sight to vision, like we do with everything. I'm really looking forward to telling the stories and making sure that they understand how important it is that they understand that they're encouraged and they're all not just encouragers, but they need to encourage themselves. So if we can understand how important that encouragement is for us personally, but then also being an encourager for someone else, that's really where everything starts to change, and we start to have a bigger impact on the world. So again, I will read the letter from my daughter. That encouragement to me that I had 10 years ago that allowed me to be able to understand who I was, to understand the role that I played for her, and how important it is to be able to just do that, to tell someone else, to tell someone else, you're doing a good job. I appreciate what you do. Keep inspiring people. That being able to just say words like that. Oh, and there's our friend, and Carrie Hill is back. Thank you very much, Carrie.
So sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I'm glad you're back.
It happens. It's life. It's just a reboot.
Yeah, it's all good. So tell me, Carrie, you cried, and the doctor said, "Oh no, don't cry." So this is the first time you ever. I'm sorry, and that is where we lost you.
Okay, so that's when I realized, oh, something's really wrong. Something's really, really wrong. That's not normal. Why can't I talk? Why don't I know the things I'm supposed to know? So I wasn't 100% sure what was going on. The doctors explained to my family that I was in what's called vasospasm. So basically not enough blood and oxygen was getting to my brain. Vasospasm is a very common complication for a ruptured brain aneurysm. It's also a deadly complication for a ruptured brain aneurysm. Typically, vasospasm patients go into a massive stroke and don't recover from that. Fortunately, I did not go into a massive stroke from the vasospasm, but we had to correct it. So they put me on a ton of blood pressure medication to lift my blood pressure to see if that would get the blood flowing to my brain and my brain would act correctly, or at least get a little better. So let me explain vasospasm first. You have your major artery, right? That runs from your heart to your brain, or from your brain to your heart. It's what feeds your brain. Mm-hmm. So that artery is supposed to be open like this. So it's like a free flow highway. Woohoo, everybody's going 100 miles an hour. Mine was open like this. So I wasn't getting enough, like I said, blood and oxygen to my brain for it to properly function. So the doctors, they did the blood pressure medication that seemed to help. I was able to communicate a little better, but still not 100% aware of everything. I was having trouble finding my words. It was extremely uncomfortable once they put all that medication in. My dad said I swelled up like a balloon, and the blood pressure numbers were insane on the medication. So my body started to show signs, other organs started to show signs that it did not like that medication. So I had to come off of that. The choices that evening that were explained to my family were, we can go in and we can do a bypass. So we can open it up again, do a bypass from that, where the aneurysm was behind my left eye, and, push that blood somewhere else. If we do that and she bleeds out, she has 3 minutes to live. Like it's very, very, very dangerous to do that. Or we can do what's called a verapamil ball, which has a 20% success rate. The bypass has a higher success rate, but it's a whole lot more risky. So my family was talking to my doctor, my neurosurgeon, about it. And I remember being in the room, and it was dim, and my family was on my right side and my doctor was on my left side. And I grabbed his hand and I just kind of looked at him and I was like, why is this happening? And he said, we don't know why, but we're going to do the absolute best we can to fix it. Okay. I still didn't understand, what fix it meant, but okay. So that night they wheeled me down. My dad and my husband at the time wheeled me down to the angiogram room, and they put me in there. And I remember both of them giving me a kiss on the forehead. And when you have an angiogram, you have to lay completely still. You cannot move. And you are on a metal table laying flat. So they positioned me for the angiogram because the verapamil ball goes in the same way. It goes in through the carotid artery from the groin, and they deposit it into your brain in the artery that is spasming. So they did that. Verapamil is a antispasming medication. So it dissolves pretty much immediately. I kid you not, 22 minutes it took from the time that I was somewhat coherent to, oh, there's the world again. So I, again, extremely blessed that it worked for me. Again, 20% success rate. And if that didn't work, the bypass was the only other option. So yeah, insanely blessed on that level. So they wheeled me out of the angiogram room after the procedure was done, and my family was lined up on the wall, and I smiled at all of them, and I said hi to all of them, and they lit up like Christmas trees. They were like, "Oh, it's over. Everything's good. She's good now. She's great." And they decided that they told them it was going to take like an hour and a half to get me reset up in ICU. Cause I had wires everywhere and IVs everywhere. I had an EJ in my neck. It was just everywhere. So my family decided they were going to go to TGI Fridays and celebrate with some wings and beer. Thanks, y'all. Just leave me out of that. I just went through hell, but y'all go ahead and enjoy a meal and a beer. Just kidding. I'm sure they were stressed to the gills too. So the next thing I remember after seeing my family on the wall was not being able to breathe. I woke up. It was like I went to sleep, but didn't know I went to sleep. And I woke up and I couldn't breathe. I couldn't get a word out. I could not breathe. And when I woke up, I was in ICU, and my nurse, Helen was a godsend. Love me some Helen. She's not there anymore, unfortunately, but she was on point. Helen is running from one side of my bed to the other side of my bed to the different machines and doing what she can. And my dad is at the foot of the bed, and he looks terrified. My aunt is right in my face, and she's crying. I can't breathe. My husband at the time was in my ear, and he was like, look, they're going to get you a CPAP. They're going to give you some Lasix. They're going to dry out your lungs. I was in pulmonary edema. So my lungs had filled with fluid from all of the medications that they had given me. And I couldn't breathe. So I'm trying to tell my family, I'm taking the oxygen mask off, and I'm trying to tell my family, please go home. Please go home. I'm going to be fine. Please go home. Again, I can't talk, but I don't want them to see me this way. I can see the fear in their eyes. I can see it. I don't want to see that. I don't need to. I'm scared myself, but I'm trying to not show that. I'm trying to still be everybody's rock, because that's just what I am, or what I was. So they shoo my family out of the room. The CPAP comes. They put it on my face. They give me the Lasix, which makes me tired, which makes me go to sleep. I wake up at like 3 a.m. I can breathe again. Again, blessed and thankful. I can breathe again. And they take the CPAP mask off. And Helen says, well, good morning. And I was like, is my dad still here? And she goes, yeah, he's in the waiting room sleeping. My dad never left. He never left. And I knew the instant I woke up, I knew he was there. I knew he wouldn't have left me that way. The rest of my family did go home and got sleep and what have you. But I knew my dad wasn't going to leave me that way. So I said, can I see my dad? And she says, yeah, but let's get you cleaned up first, because you were sweating quite a bit. So she proceeds to clean me up some, and I help her, and she changes my bed sheets while I'm still on the bed. I'm telling you, that is witchcraft, but it's amazing. So my dad comes in, and I think I talked to my dad for all of 5 minutes, and then I went right to sleep. But just knowing he was there brought so much comfort to me, being there. So that next morning I wake up and things are okay. There's no big major complications. Things are slow, but they're okay. So I stay in ICU for another 4 or 5 days, I think. And then I got upgraded to a regular room. And then I was sent home. And when I was sent home, I still had some fluid on my brain, which was going to take a while to recycle through the system and go where it's supposed to go. So I came home, and I remember coming home when my husband pulled the car around to the front of the hospital. I was like, the car seems smaller than it was, which was kind of weird to me because it was the same car. So why did I think that? Why did I feel that? Didn't think much of it. Get in the car, and I turn the radio on, and I can hear music, and I can remember the words, and I am singing at the top of my lungs, and I have the windows down. It is December in North Carolina. It is cold, but I have the windows down because I haven't been outside for almost 2 weeks, and I love to be outside, and I'm just so happy. I can remember the words to these songs, and I can feel the wind, and I can smell the flowers, and I'm free. My husband kept rolling up the windows and turning the music down. He was like, "You're going to give yourself a headache. Let me have my moment. Let me have my moment, please." Anyway, so we make it home. And my son, I love that kid. My son, then nobody knew I was coming home. So we pull into the garage, and he shuts the garage door right away so that the neighbors don't see me and have, 500 million questions. So that was very considerate. My son comes up to the window. I haven't even opened the door yet. He comes up to the window, and he pushes his hands on the window, and he's so excited to see me. So I open the door, and I was like, "Could you help me get out of the car?" And he's like, "Yeah, Mom, I got you." And we, had the biggest hug ever. I mean, the biggest hug. He was so excited. And he was 10. He turned 10. He turned 10 that Monday that I was supposed to go in to the hospital. So he was 10. Anyway, I get into the house. My dog, Honey Bunny, is beside herself. I have to get down on the floor to pet and love her. I'm supposed to be resting. So I go upstairs. I take a shower. I brush my teeth. I change my clothes. I get in the bed. And, I'm just going to relax and lay out and probably sleep a lot, because that's what happens when your brain goes through things like this. And my son comes in his pajamas, and he says, "Mom, can we watch a movie?" Yep, we can watch a movie. You don't have to leave my side ever again. We can definitely watch a movie. Now, I couldn't follow that movie to save my soul. I couldn't follow it because it was just TV and it was too fast, and my brain had been through what it had been through. But we watched that movie, and we enjoyed each other's company, and knowing that, at this point, hopefully everything's going to be okay. We beat the monster. We're going to be good. That's what everybody thought. And unfortunately, that's not what happened. So due to the brain aneurysm rupture and the blood on my brain, I suffered cognitive disabilities. So basically having trouble making decisions, having trouble focusing, mood swings, neurofatigue, easily tired, a lot of different things. So I went to cognitive therapy. And, they'll tell you this machine is going to say a bunch of numbers, and every time it says the number 7, hit the bell. Okay. I thought I was doing great. I was missing a lot of 7s, but I thought I was getting them all right. Then they would ask you, can you name 5 shiny things? Sure. I went to one category, and apparently mine was gems. So it was like diamonds, onyx, emeralds, rubies, so on. And my brain couldn't switch categories. It just stayed on that one category. It's like, why is it doing that? Why am I not able to think right? Like this, I did what I was supposed to do. I did the surgeries. I did the medications. I did the therapy. Why is this not okay anymore? So my doctor and I went back and forth, decided to go back to my job part-time to ease back into things. Yeah, no, not going to work. Again, couldn't focus. Had fatigue problems, memory problems, couldn't remember. And in my job, I managed a multi-million dollar budget across 4 departments, and I did analyze, things and executive reports and a lot of big stuff that people depended on that I just couldn't do anymore. So the decision was made between my doctor and I that I was going to go back out on disability and continue with my cognitive therapy. So I did that. I continued with my cognitive therapy for about a year. Things weren't really happening. There wasn't any large epiphanies in my recovery, and I got frustrated and I got mad and angry and depressed. So I left cognitive therapy because, again, I felt like it wasn't doing much for me anymore. That was a big mistake, because at that point, cognitive therapy and carpool for my son were the only reasons I was getting up out of bed. So once I left cognitive therapy, I literally would get up, take my son to school, come back home, go back to sleep, get up, pick my son up from school, come back home, go back to sleep, get up, make dinner, lay around. That was it. I wasn't who I was before. And I was stuck in the dark. I was stuck in the why. I was stuck in the how does this happen? And my life was good. I beat all the odds, not just with brain surgery, but other things that happened in my life. I was a young teenage mother. I didn't finish college, but I did get a good job, and I was able to supply for my family, and I did get married, and I did everything right. And it was all taken away from me, just in that your brain decided to blow up.
Yeah.
How do I
I've got to ask, how did you get through that time? How long did that last?
It lasted about 2 years. On and off. There were some spurts where I would be okay during those 2 years. And then there were some spurts that were not so good. And in all honesty, my son he's almost 22 now. So I can say this out loud. If it hadn't been for him, I would have let it go. I would have let myself go. And a lot of brain aneurysm survivors will do that over time. We will end our lives because they're not what they were. And, you see the world differently, and everybody who knew you before doesn't understand why you're not who you were, and they don't know how to help you. And you clam up. So again, vision, I don't want people to clam up. I don't want people to give up. Giving up is not an option. When you have a ruptured brain aneurysm, who you were dies. They die and they don't come back. You might see glimpses of them throughout your life, but it's not ever going to be the same. And you have to tell yourself that that's okay. You have to figure out how to grieve who you were and let that person lie and get into your new skin and learn to love the new you. Are you going to get it right every day? Absolutely not. But you have to tell yourself that that's okay. You have to.
Yeah, I love that. That's beautiful. So
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what can we tell the listeners about how what you're doing now to help them and help others like you? So
I have several people that have reached out to me, again, through the support groups. And, I got to tell you, I met this beautiful, beautiful woman locally. Her name is Anne. And Anne had gone through a rupture, and Anne's recovery was a little more difficult than mine. She was in ICU for, I think, 3 months. And, she heard her family talk about putting her in nursing homes or hospice or what have you, but she couldn't communicate. That aphasia had gotten to her too. And unfortunately, she suffered aphasia for a lot longer than I did. But she came to me, and she was this timid, scared, woman she wanted a voice about what she had gone through, but she didn't have it quite yet. So she and I have met a multitude of times, talked on the phone. I've shared my YouTube channel with her, and she now has a voice. And
By the
she
way,
now,
we'll bring that YouTube channel back up.
sure.
So there we go. There it is.
There it is. Woohoo! Check it out.
And I'm assuming you probably also search on your name.
Yes.
Or go to your LinkedIn profile.
Yes.
And you'll find it through there. So
that's correct.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah. So, and like I said, she now has a voice. We have teamed up together and we are besties, and we will, I love Anne. She's like, can we go have lunch? Yeah, we can go have lunch. And lunch means we're going to have a beer and sit out and talk about life and gossip and be gone for several hours. Let's do it. Let's do it. Just live life. And then I had another woman reach out to me. Her name was Nina. And she reached out to me through the support group, and she really her situation tested my own anxieties and my own fears of this happening to me again. She reached out. Her mom had suffered a ruptured brain aneurysm, and her mom was in vasospasm. And again, typically patients in vasospasm do not make it. And she didn't understand. She didn't understand what the doctors were telling her. She didn't understand why her mom was not waking up. So she and I had several phone conversations trying to help her understand what exactly vasospasm is and why her mom medically cannot wake up. And I tried to tell her, if your mom had the option to wake up and be here for you, she would. She definitely would. But unfortunately, it's not likely going to happen. And Nina, her mom went home under hospice care, and she passed away peacefully. I think it was a week and a half or 2 weeks later. And Nina and I have never talked again. I'd never met Nina before that. But I know that my ability to communicate the knowledge to her helped her tremendously. And it helped her sister tremendously because they just weren't understanding what was going on with their mom. And I was grateful to be able to be a person that they could reach out to and talk to. Now, the struggle within myself after speaking with Nina and what was going on with her mom is, the thoughts that could have been me. That could have been me. Her mom's going to pass away, but I got to survive. Why did I get to survive and her mom didn't? Survivor's guilt. Mm-hmm. And I have to push that back. But those will initiate dark days for me. And when I have a dark day, I just tell me it's okay. Lay in bed and Netflix all day. It's fine. You don't have to talk to the world today. You are not everybody's saving grace. You are your own saving grace first. And then you can trickle that into everybody else. But I want to go back to a question you had asked me, how I got out of that dark depression. And again, my son really, he saved my life. But I got out of it because one day I just decided, you know what? If I'm going to live for my son, then I don't want to live this way. This is not an example I want to give to him. This is not, I got to put my big girl panties on and keep moving. And I took a math class at the local community college. I was like, let me just challenge myself. It gives me a reason to get out of bed 3 days a week and whatnot. And when I first started it, I didn't want to do it. I was like, no, I don't, I'd rather stay in bed because I had gotten into that routine. But I realized when I kept going in this math class is these people didn't know me before. Mm-hmm. They don't know my struggle. They only know me now. So they don't know that this math class is really tripping my brain out, even though 2 years ago it would have come to me easily, even though I hate math. But I got an A in that class. And I was like, you know what? I can go back to work. I can do this. And I did. I went back to work part-time at a pain clinic for a year. And then I moved on to part-time at Rex Hospital in the labor delivery department. So I got to see some really cool things happening there. But I started to realize that I couldn't do both. I couldn't be a mom and a wife and a functioning person and work. So I had to pick one. And my doctors explained it to me. They were like, it's neurofatigue. It's your disability. It's nothing against you. It is what it is. And we tried multiple medications to see if I could keep it up. And unfortunately, the side effects of the medication made things worse. So I had to leave work. But I was extremely involved in my son's lacrosse and his schooling and his internship. And I was extremely involved with my friends and my family. And, things were great. I had pulled myself out. But again, I preferenced there are dark days, and they're normal, and do what you have to do to get through them. I can tell you an example. One day, my son and I were at the grocery store with one of his friends, and it was like 4 weeks after my most recent brain surgery. And I was going up and down the aisles. I knew what I needed to find, but I didn't know how to find it, which is normal after you go through a brain surgery. And I was getting frustrated and overwhelmed and just mad. And my son looked at me and he was like, Mom, all we're doing is going up and down the aisles. Like, what are we doing? And I turned and I looked at him and I gritted my teeth because, again, I was mad. And I said, I'm so sorry you have a mom with brain issues. Because that was how I felt at that moment. And my son looked at me and he said, Mom, you don't have brain issues. You have glitter. Everybody has glitter. You just have a little extra. And I kid you not, that turned my whole situation around. I was like, you know what? You're right. Let's go find this soy sauce. Let's do this.
You have glitter.
Yeah, I have glitter. That's how my son put it. And I'm a very, jewelry, handbags, shoes, fashion kind of person. So glitter fit.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell how happy and I'm sure the listeners also got a lot out of having you on today. This has been phenomenal. I'll bring up a few that have joined and said hello. So there's our friend West who's on.
Hi.
And he says good morning, and then Linda is on as well, and then Rhonda says good morning. Some of these I went through earlier while you were coming back. And then there's Amron Singh, and then finally Ken Finley is on as well. So he says good morning to you and welcome back. So
welcome back. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much. I want before I send you to the green room or I have you go to the green room, I want to ask: is there one thing you want to leave our audience with today before you go?
Sure. So whatever knowledge you have, whatever kindness you have, share it with other people because you never know what they're going through. You don't know what's going on in their life. I walk into a grocery store. Nobody knows what my story is. Maybe I'm having a bad day, but that lady said, hey, I like your bag. Or do you need some help? Be that person. Be that big person. Be the person that shares the smile and the hopes. And if you have a medical issue that comes up, terminal or not, talk to your doctors, work with your doctors, not against your doctors, but understand that you are the only and the best advocate for yourself and for your family. So do research, find out what you need to find out, ask questions, and make a rapport with your doctors and their teams because it is extremely important to continue to feel like a person and not a case number.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the time this morning.
Sure.
All right. Hang out in the green room if you would, and I will be right back in a second. Whoa. That was amazing. I mean, Carrie Hill has gone through so much and has so much to offer. I really want to make sure that you make it out to her YouTube channel. So that's going to be posted in the show notes, and we'll just continue to have this conversation. So, I want to make sure that in everything we do, we understand that we all have blind spots. And with those blind spots comes something we're missing. And when we have something we're missing, we need to know how to get that to someone else. And we need to know how to share that with someone else. Because if we can share what we're missing, then we'll understand how we can see what we're missing. And once we see what we're missing, then that blind spot will go away. So thank you very much for being on today. I really appreciate you all. And as always, remember to just keep one eye on the road. Thank you very much. Have a great day, and I'll see you in another week